if you are working a slave job and you want to escape your slave job, then let me explain you how I did exactly that. So I'm working at Leenbakker. Now Leenbakker is just like IKEA, but then the lesser Belgium version. And as I'm going to my job at 10 a.m., I cannot but think by myself that this can be it. I'm looking at these older people that are 40, 50. They are working at Leenbakker and their life is miserable. They don't like what they do. They fucking hate it. And so these lifers are inspiring me to think about this situation. I don't want to be there. I have dreams for myself. I want to do something real with my life. And I just hate what I'm doing as well. It's just repetitive. It's the same old over and over and over and over and over again. And there's no meaning. There's no fulfillment. It's just nothing. And as I'm going to my job back and forth, I realize that I have to at least try and escape that situation. If I don't escape that situation, I will end up like one of those lifers that pretends to smile every single day. But deep inside, they hate that I'm there because I represent what they once were. I represent them 20 years ago. I represent the potential of trying, of at least giving myself a chance, something that they wish they did 20 years earlier. So they don't even like me. I don't like them. They don't like me. Nobody likes anyone in this place. And while I'm working at Leenbakker, I cannot but think by myself, well, I am making less than 20k a year. And there are these other people, not fancy famous people, not famous artists, just regular small business owners that are making millions. They are making millions. And so if I want to, for example, hypothetically, if I want to have $1 million and I make less than 20k a year, let's say 20k, to make the math easy, that means that if I wouldn't spend anything on food, anything on housing, anything on enjoying myself, I would need to work 50 years to make $1 million. And so I'm sitting there realizing that this life that I'm going to live is absolute wasted. It is wasted before it even started. It's just a meaningless trajectory that doesn't make any sense. And as I'm contemplating these small business owners and my own reality, I start to become angry. Like, how is it possible that they find this trajectory, that they have all of these millions and I have nothing? And I will not have anything if I don't do anything about it. Now, what society tells you is, well, get a degree. Get a good degree so that you get a good job. But what does a good job give you? 100k a year, 100k a year. If you wouldn't spend anything on anything, which is again very unrealistic, then it would still take you 10 years to get $1,000,000. 10 years for $1 million, which is not even a lot. This good job BS thing it's just, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's not a solution. I remember when I'm very young, 13, 14, 15, 16, I'm driving to tennis with my little bike. And then I'm driving back in Destelbergen, a small village in Belgium. And the trajectory that I'm doing has several castles. And so I'm driving and I'm looking at these castles and I'm constantly wondering by myself, wow, one day I will be living in one of those castles. One day I will make that happen somehow. And already at that age, when I was looking at these castles, I wasn't thinking by myself, well, the people who live in these castles, they probably got a degree and got a good job. That is how they could afford this. No. Nobody thinks that. When we look at castles and we imagine the people that live there, we immediately go towards, they took high risks, they got lucky, this is ancestral wealth that they got, or they were business people or mafia people or whatever. We never think that they went to the university. Nobody of us thinks that those people went to the university and then got a regular fucking job. None of us think that. So this regular job idea, we know deep inside that it doesn't work. We know deep inside that a university degree, even a good one, doesn't actually work. We know that. Anyway, I'm working at Leenbakker. And I'm contemplating all of these things. And I decide by myself, well, in order for me to escape this 9-to-5 bullshit, I will need to try something. And so I decide to give myself one shot, at least one shot. I get up at 4 in the morning every single day. I have to be here at 10 a.m. 10 a.m., yes. And so I have 6 hours to figure it out. The first couple of weeks, I'm just researching massively all sorts of books, every single YouTube video that you can imagine, in the morning and in the evening, just constantly coming up with a plan, something that could lift my soul up out of this misery. And I figure out that I could potentially build a passive income stream. Wow. Passive, not having to do anything, and then money just rolling into my bank account. It's amazing. What an amazing future. And I start dreaming about it, start building this thing. I am going to build a course. Several months later, the course launches. It flops immediately, of course. Like a couple of, I don't know what it did in the first month, $100, $200, something like that. Nothing to write home about. Now, over the course of several years, it does make like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, whatever, you know. And here's the thing. Throughout this whole process, I feel super afraid. I feel like an imposter. I'm not the person that's supposed to be making a course. Who am I? How can I be building a course? What credentials do I have to build a course? I'm not a professor. I'm not qualified to build a course. And so I was terrified that people would see through this whole thing and think that I'm just a fraud. Sure, I won some awards, which is grant writing. Sure, I won government grants when I was 14 and building a festival, and those government grants was a couple of €1,000. Sure, I won some stuff that enabled me or that qualified me to some extent, but the imposter syndrome was huge. Now, why was the imposter syndrome so big? It was so big because I was designed that way. The schooling system is a propaganda machine, is a brainwashing machine. If you read Fichte, one of the German philosophers who spends his whole life on propaganda, on brainwashing, and then builds the Prussian schooling systems. If you read Horace, another one of the school guys that built the schooling system, they are literally saying to you what the schooling system is. They are literally admitting why they created it. We created the schooling system to enslave people, to make sure that they can walk in line, can do as they are told, can be proper working bees, can be proper working slaves. That's how they designed it. You can literally read the books on them designing it and admitting all of that. And so, of course, I think that I'm an imposter because I went through the schooling system, and the schooling system taught me that I need to have degrees first, that I need to understand everything before I can teach anything. Even though all of those professors don't sell any books, don't market their stuff, get meaningless wages, are not living a life of their dreams, and they are supposed to be the experts. It's a fucking joke. And we all know it's a fucking joke. Now, the funny thing is that today, as I'm recording this, I have courses. One of my courses is currently in discount with the whole Black Friday thing. Today, in one day, I will be making a couple of €1,000. That is more than that entire first course that I made combined. And so you have to go in that direction. You have to go in that small step. Sure, the first step will fail. Sure, the second step will fail. Sure, the third step will fail. That's just the process. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to learn anything. Let me give you a 5-step process that is much better than any schooling system out there. Step 1, stop watching YouTube videos and books and learning and all of that stuff. Step 2, go in the marketplace and build something. Step 3, fail while building the thing that you want to build. Step 4, do research and watch all of those YouTube videos and read all of those books in line with the failure that you just experienced so that you can figure out how to not fail again in the future. And then in step 5, once you did the learning, not in the beginning like the schooling system tells you to, but after you tried something, then in step 5, you go back to step 3 where you failed and you try again, and this time you succeed. That's how you do it. For a while I've been thinking about why people are not seeing it. Why are they not seeing that the schooling systems are brainwashing devices that are altering their perception of the world so that they would do what the overlords are telling them to do? Why are they not seeing the truth? Why are they not seeing that the media institutions are brainwashing devices? That the Hollywood institutions are brainwashing devices? That music oftentimes is a brainwashing device? That art is a brainwashing device? Jackson Pollock was paid by the CIA. That whole abstract art, whatever the fuck, was a psyop system created to brainwash the people in the world. Why do people not see how it's all one big overlord game where the overlords are using the peasants? And the answer is very simple. Again, it's right there. If you read the books of the overlords, they will tell you. Benjamin Franklin's autobiography has this passage where he's sitting in his home. He's sleeping in his home and he hears this loud noise from outside. The Indians, they're having a party. They can't stand it. How my fucking god. Why are they so loud? Can't they have any respect? And he tries to fall back asleep, but he can't fall back asleep. And the Indians are making this noise. And suddenly out of nowhere, he hears this knock on the door. And it's like, what the fuck? So he goes downstairs. Lo and behold, the chief of the Indians is right there. Hey, like wasted, you know. Hey, do you have some rum? We're out of alcohol. Do you have some rum for us? And Benjamin Franklin, pissed off, goes like, okay, yeah. He goes like to the cellar or whatever. He gets some rum for them. He gives it to the Indian person and he goes back. Now, the next day, the Indian chief comes to Benjamin Franklin. And he's like, I'm so sorry for what happened last night. I hope we didn't really wake you up or anything like that. Now, Benjamin Franklin, he's telling this story and then he reflects on this story. And he, in his book, the autobiography, he writes that he suddenly realized why God created alcohol. He created alcohol, Benjamin Franklin says, so that we can manipulate the Indians, so that we can destroy their brain, so that we can finally conquer. That is why alcohol exists. Alcohol comes from the word alcohol, which means spirit. It's just a poison. It's a magic poison that just is created to alter the brains of the people, to make their brains function less in a way that they can't see the truth anymore, in a way that they can't see what is happening in the world. That's what it is. And so people are stuffing themselves with all these chemicals, these nonsense fast food chemicals, and these nonsense fast food drinks, and these nonsense fast food Coca-Colas, and these nonsense fast foods everything. As if the overlords are not aware of that and are manipulating those pieces so that the brains of those people just function less. It all starts with working on yourself. A strange thing happens when you become healthy, when you start working out, when you start taking care of yourself and valuing yourself. You suddenly don't tolerate the overlords abusing you anymore. You suddenly don't tolerate a job boss telling you what to do without paying you for it. 20k, 30k, 40k a year, that's nothing. That's peanuts. That's nothing. It's not worth it. Alive, your freedom is much more, or is worth much more than 30 or 40k a year. And you know that. But it's hard to realize that when you're stuffed with fast food and you're drinking alcohol on a daily basis. Once you start reading these history books, you quickly realize that the overlords have been abusing the peasants for a very long time. For thousands of years to be more precise. And this is not something they learn in history lessons in school. The history lessons in school will tell you that as time goes on, we become more free. We become more independent. We become more advanced and complex and technological and all of that. This is bullshit. This is not true at all. If you actually read the history books, you will see that it is the exact opposite. The peasants in the Middle Ages, the 1100s, they had 120 days off. This was one of the selling points of Christianity. 120 days. All of the peasants today, these workers, they are getting what? 4 weeks off, 5 weeks off, 6 weeks off. The peasants worked less than 5 days a week and had more time off in the 1100s. And it's not that they got less money for it. It's not that the people that are peasants today and make 30 or 40k a year, that they are having more material wealth than the peasants of the Middle Ages. That's not true. Now, you are in your late 30s or in your 40s or 50s or 60s. And you've been working a miserable job for the last decades, and you've been realizing everything that I've just told you. You've realized this for a very long time. And so I have a question for you. This is a very important question. This question could potentially change the course of your entire life. Are you, at the age of 45, more capable to understand what your next step is than I was in my early 20s when I made the decision to build that first course? The answer is, of course, yes. You are absolutely, at the age of 50, you are more capable of making that decision. You already know what you have to do. This is another mindset trick that the schooling system plays on people. The schooling system teaches you, brainwashes you into thinking that you first have to study and then do something. First you have to be perfect and then do something. First you have to understand everything about the thing that you are going to do, get all of the degrees, and then you can start doing something. This is, however, not true. The reality, the secret that they want to keep hiding from you is that you already know everything. If you are hypothetically obese, you already know what to do. You know it's healthy food and working out. And even if you believe it's a disease that you couldn't do anything about, deep inside you still know it's just food and working out. You know the next step. The reality is that you already know the next step. You don't need this video to tell you what the next step is. You already know. Now it's just a matter of taking that next step. And then the unforeseen circumstance that you have no idea what the next step is. You are not. You want to chase this dream art career. You have no idea what to do. All of these arts, what are they? I have no idea. Then I have a formula for you, the artist formula, which is now in discount at my website during the Black Friday sales. And you can take advantage of this opportunity. You can take advantage of this moment where you can start your art career, where you can finally escape the rat race once and for all, because you're 50 years old and you're sick of it. You absolutely are sick of working this 9-to-5 slave job, being controlled by these overlord masters, taking advantage of you while not giving a shit about your life at all. The back is already hurting, the wrists are already hurting. You've been grinding away, literally giving your precious body to this job. And what are they going to give you in return? Nothing. That said, get the hell out of here.